Okay, we're now live. Welcome everyone to Chilling with Joe, and today I'm with I-Hua. Now, this is all about sharing career stories for our Jobs for Humanity volunteers. Jobs for Humanity, not-for-profit organization, a bunch of us volunteers got together to help those underrepresented backgrounds find meaningful work, and one of which is for single mums. But this week we're celebrating International Women's Day, and we're making a week of it. See how I said week instead of day? And, you know, it's taking note and celebrating all females, which is what we do every day, right? Well, that's what we do.
That's right.
So in the US, there are about 300 million single mums and they're raising families on one income. In Australia, I mentioned this yesterday, 1 out of every 8 single parents is a single mum. And then in Malaysia, I discovered there are about, just over 230,000 single mums. And I know firsthand the challenge of, wanting to have it all, be great at your job, be great as a mom, be fully present. It can be challenging sometimes, to have it all. But that's why, it's important to work on something important that aligns to your purpose, your mission. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm the founder of Predator Science. I love helping people reach their next career destination. I give them the tools, the mindset, and I actually use a 7-step strategy to make that happen. Now, today, it's all about sharing I-Hua's story. And I'm going to pass it to I-Hua in a moment just to say hello.
Hi.
Over to you.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yes, I've been very persistent trying to get I-Hua to do this and share her career story for some time. I-Hua is the daughter of a single mum. It's a story that shows strength, hope, courage, and love. So I'm delighted to have you here to walk us through, what it is that you've been doing, how you got there, and a few questions that I have up my sleeve. So tell me, and the audience who's watching, a bit of a summary about you. You've got so many things that you do, and you've just become a fur baby mum at the moment as well. So I'll pass it to you. Tell us.
Oh gosh, where to start? My newest achievement as a fur mama. I'm a new mom to Snowy, who is a Japanese Spitz, and I'm just looking behind me because he's tearing up his soft toy. So bear with me here. So I've done lots of things. I've mostly worked within a career in HR, and that's transitioned into recruitment and now talent acquisition. I've done a stint of charity work with Jobs for Australia and now with Jobs for Humanity. I've started my own plant business at the back end of 2020 called Plant Ruptive, and the whole idea was, to send plants and well-being gifts to people who were stuck at home in lockdown and what have you. The business is on hold currently just because I'm so busy with my actual work as well. So it's not gone. It's still there. So I'm still paying, all the things that you need to do. It's just on hold until I find time in the day to do that. I do a little bit of food and travel on the side. I'm a content creator. I don't like the word influencer. I don't think any influencers like the word influencers. So I'm part of the world's 50 best restaurants and bars as their digital media ambassador, representing Australia and Malaysia there. So lots of things that I do. I volunteer with Jobs for Australia, as I said, which is now Jobs for Humanity. I'm also a committee board member for another organisation called Living the Dream Foundation that's based in Frankston. That's to help the youth there to get out of trouble. I recently, last week actually, became part of the Women in Tech co-lead at work.
Excellent.
So I don't know why these things are happening or why I keep saying yes or how many hours I have in the day, but I am very busy.
Wow.
So that's fun. Work aside, in 2019, I was lucky enough to take time out in my career and go on a career break and went traveling, went home to Malaysia and spent a lot of time with mum. And in hindsight, that was one of the best things that has ever happened, you know, and came back in 2020. And we all know what happened there. So let's not talk about that.
Yes, exactly. Wow, you are doing so much, and it just shows you, you know, you have a love and a passion for various things. There's a variety of things there, you know, entrepreneur, you're working in a business, you're, you know, volunteering, you're serving, you're servicing and giving back, and you've become a mum. And you've said yes to a few things this week, including this. Thank you. I'm grateful for that. Because you know, through all of that, you were actually not from here. You were born in Malaysia, and that's where your mum is right now. So tell us a little about her, because you're the daughter of a single mum, and you know, I love to hear that perspective.
Yeah, so my mum is currently in KL in Malaysia, and where she's been since the start of lockdown. So it's been tough not seeing her since 2019 for myself and 2020 for my sister, because she was up in Sydney before we locked our borders down, and she went home in a panic, and we haven't seen her since. So it's been tough. They've recently announced that Malaysia's removing the borders, the quarantine stuff from the 1st of April. So fingers crossed.
Excellent.
There is hope that we can either go home and visit her, or she can come over. But really, to tell you the story of my mother, I have to start with my maternal grandparents, her story and how she began. As the eldest son in his family, my grandfather was matched with the oldest daughter of another reputable family. He went to visit them and pay his respects, as you do back in the day. This was, you know, in the 30s, I would imagine. The story goes was that he brought along gifts. So his family's come from a pretty well-to-do, they own provision stores, and during the World War, that's, you know, something that's really important, because that's where all the stock comes from, you know, the food and all of that. So he brought the provisions, and he went to visit this family to see this oldest daughter in that family. The story goes was that he fell in love at first sight with the second daughter, who just happened to be my grandmother.
Oh my goodness.
So there was a little bit of, you know, kerfuffle there. But this was during the World War. You know, he came from a rich family. So they say my maternal great-grandfather, he was a police detective, you know, in Penang in Malaysia. So they kind of went, you know what? It doesn't matter which daughter he ends up with, as long as it's with one of the daughters. So off you go.
Yeah.
So my mom was born towards the end of the World War in 1944. She and her sister had a really good life growing up. You know, they had both sets of grandparents who really doted on them. They worked really hard, studied hard, don't get me wrong there. My aunt eventually moved down to Singapore, whilst my mother, having met my father in high school, they went on to become, she became a teacher specializing in history and geography, and my dad became a pilot, so working with the Royal Air Force at the time. So there was a lot of moving around. So they moved together quite a bit, and they didn't have my sister until her late 20s, which is quite old, you know, in those days, in the 70s, to not have a child. So, and I didn't come along till 10 years later. So there's a 10-year gap between my sister and I. My dad, unfortunately, made some wrong choices in life, and decided to explore a new one with his new family without us, being very polite about it.
Yes,
my parents got divorced. So when I was 2, after 16 years of marriage. So that was a long time together. My mum, as you can imagine, was going through a really rough spot with a toddler, with a budding teenager in the 80s, in the early 80s,
God.
as a single mum. In Asia as well, where you were, you know, seen to have been discarded by your husband for someone else. It was tough. I think her parents didn't, they kind of said, you know, but they kind of always viewed it as, you know, you should have done this or you should have done that, and your husband would not have left you. It was really that kind of mentality, and that carried through, I think, really to the 90s and all of it. But she was very resilient. She brought my grandparents down from Penang down to KL to look after me. So I spent a lot of my formative years living with my maternal grandparents, which is sad from, you know, as a mother's perspective, because you didn't get to have your baby with you. But I was very close with my grandparents. And there was one memory that sticks out with me still today, and I feel bad about it. But back then I was like, meh. I think I was about 4 or 5 maybe, and she had come to pick me up for a weekend. So I would spend a weekend with mum or a weekend with dad, depending on who wanted me. But pretty much Monday to Friday I was with my grandparents. And I threw the biggest tantrum in the car because I didn't want to go home with this lady who, was just mum, but I didn't really know her. And she turned around and she dropped me back off at my grandparents. But can you imagine?
Wow.
Your child not wanting to be with you.
And you saying, bye, Felicia. I know, right?
And I was really spoiled by my grandparents. I was a real brat growing up, as you do. And I think they spoiled me a lot because they kind of viewed me as this poor child with no father and no mother around. So yeah, I got away with murder,
wow.
A lot of it. But yeah, poor mum. When I was of primary school age, I went back and lived with her and my sister, and the three of us obviously bonded through that time. So we're really close. My sister, as I said, she's 10 years older than me. So I got a lot of hand-me-downs. We didn't have a lot of money. She was a single mom working on a teacher's salary. Yes, there was some custody, but dad would conveniently forget to pay occasionally. So I didn't really have the best relationships with my father and his side of the family as well. But yeah. But growing up, my mom's always taught us that, never trust in men. You got to, for obvious reasons, you got to watch out for yourself. You need to have your own career. You need to learn how to drive. You need to do everything. She really set up the foundations to, set us up for success to become independent women. She taught us to always have our own bank account, have our own finances sorted. Don't rely on anyone. If you have money, use it to invest. She was lucky she got into the stock market in the 90s. I think there was a boom going on there. So she learned quickly on how to play with stock and invested and flipped a couple of properties, managed to send my sister and I overseas to Australia to earn an education and live a different life because she saw, she didn't want us to fall in the trap that she did. So yeah.
Wow. She sounds like such an amazing woman, very inspiring story where she's being selfless and she's created pathways for yourself and your sister to come here. And we're very grateful that you are here in Australia and we get to vibe with you and work with you and, hang out and do all wonderful things. So you spoke a lot about, the many various things that you're working on, but one of which you've preyed on mostly was the volunteering. So what inspired you to get into it in the first place?
So my family's always done lots of charity work. Growing up, that was always in my ethos. They're staunch Buddhists, and whether you're a Buddhist or a Christian, it doesn't matter. That kind of spiritual housing, there's always charity work involved in those kind of religion practices. So as part of the temples that they were volunteering with, they would collect fund and buy food and donations and go visit what we had old folks homes back in the day. So it's not quite the same as the retirement homes here. It's back in Asia or in Malaysia, especially. It's where people abandon old people, where or they're too old and they don't have children and they get put into these houses. So that's what they're called, old folks homes. Or you have homes for people who are mentally or physically disabled, been abandoned by families again, things like that. So they would go collect funds and we would go and do drop-offs and visits. So it was always, a packs of very Asian things, but like biscuits or crackers and Milos and money and things like that. And so growing up, that's always been our thing. We would always go visit at special events during Lunar New Year, during Mooncake Festival or whatever it was, and do all of that. So I think that's always sat with me, that feeling of needing to help others if you come from a world of privilege, and we are, right? We have 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 eyes, mouth, nose. We can talk, we can speak, we can learn, all those sorts of things. So if you have those things, you can give back to society, and that's always been a big part for me.
That's wonderful. And yeah, I can resonate with what you're sharing. Looking at, being able to support others is something in that giving and gifting and serving. Yeah, if you're just, focusing on self and materialism, it's not very
Life's too
fulfilling.
short. Life's too short. And that's really kind of helped steer me to the type of companies that I want to work with, or the organizations
Yeah.
that I want to be associated with. It's all about giving back to either the community, the environment, or whatever it is. It's all about doing good, because I believe in good karma and bad juju. So don't do bad things, because you will get bad juju.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Now, touching on your career, and when you reflect on, you've had a varied background. You spoke about HR and TA. Obviously, you're stuck in TA, and we're really grateful for that. As a leader in that space, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement so far?
Not killing anyone? No, I'm kidding. I think coming through HR, that set me up with, a lot of backbone. Going into HR when you're a fresh grad, your eyes are sparkly, right? You come out and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be in HR. I'm going to save the world. I'm going to fight for the rights of people. And then you come out and you go into an organization. And for me, I went into a utilities organization. They're very unionized, very heavily, in that space. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, because they're mean and they're awful. And the union people are just awful in the language they use and how they speak, and the things that they ask for is just a little bit ridiculous at times. So that thought process that I had was, initially I was like, I want to go into I want to go fight for the rights of people. It very quickly became, no, I don't want to do that. I want to work in the happy side of HR, which is recruitment at that time. And I'm so lucky now that we've branched that off into something of our own in talent acquisition. So there's lots of things that there's not one event that I would look back on and say, yay, that's the biggest career achievement that I've had, because they've all been good and bad. And it's helped set me up to where I am now. But I would say, looking back, it probably would be being headhunted and setting up a talent acquisition function for the Australian Energy Market Operator, or AEMO. And building that out from a one-person transactional recruitment role to a national talent acquisition team of 5. I really enjoy the planning and the strategy behind it. I really enjoy mentoring and coaching my team, and also learning from them, because there's no point if it's just one way. I
agree
it's a two-way.
with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have heard people that have worked with you, because we all know people who know people. They always say great things about that time, and
I pay them well.
That you had. Yeah, good karma. That's all right. Whatever it takes for that. Now you spoke about that, and you can look at whether it's running a business, the fact that you're a food connoisseur. Who supported you with the various things? Do you have a support network? Do you have a coach? Did you have a mentor along the way? And who were they?
I did. I've been very lucky to have very good support people, mentors, not any official life coaches, unless you count yourself as one, Joe. But I don't think you're that. You're more
no life coaching, career
coaching.
No.
Career coaching.
We can talk life, but I won't coach you on it.
we would get nowhere if we just talk life. But yeah, so one of my standout managers, Liza Teresinski, she's a IR and HR goddess. She's a little pocket rocket, very respected and very reputable within the utilities industry. So she's amazing. A couple of HR business partners that really showed me the ropes and taught me lots of patience, and giving up was not an answer. So Sonia Gill, David Top, they really gave me so much support and sound advice in my career. Sandy Laris, she was an EA at I-Hua, and she was such a strong rock for me. She now incidentally runs her own, she's an entrepreneur as well, and she runs her own organization. It's called WB40, so Women Beyond 40, and it's supporting women, 40 years and above, because it doesn't mean that once you hit 40, your life's over. There's so much more to that. So she's a great supporter and champion for women as well. My wonderful team of supporters now, I guess, yourself, Pavi, Beck, Michael, Delaney, of my friends, my best friends from primary school till now, Shan, V, Steph, Def, all of them. We've been friends since we were 6, and wonderful. We're all the biggest supports to each other, even though we're all doing different things now. Accountant, doctor, director, me and TA, none of us are in the same thing. So it's really nice for us to just share experiences, because we're there, each other's sounding board. And my husband, I guess, for all his quirks, maybe. We've been together since we were 18. So we've been together for a very long time. And he's allowed me to quit jobs, travel without him, move around from career to idea. Maybe alloud's the wrong word, but he supported me to do that. Without not many men or husband, as you can think of, will allow your life partner to just disappear on you for 6, 7, 8 months and go traveling without you whilst you stayed home and worked. And very grateful for that.
That's wonderful. Yeah, so you've got a very strong support network in all areas of your life, and your husband sounds like he's also quite selfless, and he lets you shine. And and
obviously my mom and my sister, that goes without saying. I feel like I don't say that very often, because it's just an assumption. They are always there for me, but I feel like because I don't say it, then it like people don't know about it. And so I should say my mom and my sister are really big supporters for me as well.
Well, one of the actions after this little session is just reach out to them and tell them that.
I talk to them every day on WhatsApp.
Then it won't be hard.
It won't be hard.
All right. So we spoke a lot about, the things that have made you thrive, the support network you had around you, the amazing mum that you had before and still have to bring you to this point of where you are, right? But reflecting back now, what's been a defining moment for you? Well, I know we can pick many, but we'll just choose one.
Yeah, I'll probably say my work with Jots for Australia and now Jots for Humanity. That's been a really, I don't think it's been like the aha moment, but there were lots of things leading towards that path, and it shaped me with how I want to do what I want to do, and how I want to achieve that, and obviously the pandemic as well, that kind of made everyone stop and think about what it is that they're doing. Is your job giving you the fulfillment that you want? Is the outcome of your business goals going to make you happy in the long term? And I'm really lucky, because I think I've managed to strike that now with where I am at Indebted, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it's amazing.
That is. And I love it that you're very values driven, and I know that you don't make decisions lightly. I've seen that, and you're very caring and supportive. And so, I'm grateful that I got to meet you through Jobs for Australia. I think I would have to agree it had big impact on myself too. So there you go. Big defining moment all around. Boom.
Boom.
All right. So you just mentioned Indebted. So that's one of the wonderful things that you're working on right now. So what other things could you share about that, that you're allowed to share perhaps as we progress through the rest of the year? So
I am back in a leadership position within TA, and that's so nice. It's good. I love it. I'm still, working quite operationally and building up the team in that space, but I love what I do. So I'm the TA lead for the R&D team. So think engineering, think product, think data, very software fintech, which is new and amazing for me, and I love it. I love my job. I love my team. I love my stakeholders. There's such good support for me, and I really believe in our company's vision and mission, which is to reduce global debt for reducing the stigma and shame associated by being in debt through the utilization of tools, digital tools and products. So that's really amazing. On paper, we are a debt collection agency, and you kind of go, oh, they're like loan sharks. They're going to ring you and hound you and stalk you until you pay your money. There's none of that with us. You use technology to pay money back or whatever it is. And the great goal that our CEO has and our founder, Josh, is to reduce debt globally by, maybe 1 million people a year. It sounds crazy, but when you think of the $1 trillion of debt that's in the industry at the moment, if we can help people get over that, remove generational debt, because it's easy to fall into that cycle, and just giving people empathy. And I think that's really important to me. And I think that's what really resonated with me when I heard about this role. Particularly with what I do on the side as well, and all the work that I do in terms of all the volunteer stuff. We are a global company. We are remote first, so we don't actually even have an office or an office to go into. And you know how much I love working remotely. We are leading or paving the way in terms of a 4-day work week. People get really, I think people always get very cautious when we say 4-day work week. They're like, you want us to do 40 hours in 4 days. It's a compressed blah, blah, blah. And it's not. It is, you get paid your full-time salary and you work 32 hours a week, Monday to Thursday. The whole company has Fridays off. So it's a long weekend for us every week. It's so great.
Good. So today's the first day of your weekend. How cool
is
that?
It is my long weekend. And in Victoria, if you happen to be in Melbourne, it's a long weekend because Monday is a public holiday. So so that's pretty amazing. There's lots of great things that we're doing, and I will be talking more about our benefits and things like that in the Melbourne recruitment meetup at the end of the month. So that'll be fun and exciting.
I can't wait for that. So if you're in recruiting, TA, come along to that. If you don't know what we're talking about, where have you been? We can share the links for that meetup, and you can come along to that. And we can get to see each other in the flesh. We haven't done that in a little while, so that'd be really
That's going to be very weird.
Yeah, and
real people in real life talking and sharing of ideas in the same room, breathing the same air.
Yes, closer distance than we've been in. Yeah, that is going to be strange. So this has been an amazing career story that you've shared, as I knew, but to hear it like this, to be able to do it one-on-one with an audience too, of course, there are people out there. So I just wanted to ask you any advice or last comments for people out there.
There's no stupid idea and there's no stupid questions. If you believe in yourself, surround yourself with positive, like-minded people. And that's not to say that you're surrounding yourself with yes people. Surround yourself with people you trust, because they are the ones that will tell you no, or that's not a great idea. But don't be afraid to voice it out. Speak it out, speak your mind. You have a voice. As a woman, we're always told growing up, you shouldn't say this. It's not your place. You don't have a voice. This is a men's. Well, speak. You have a voice, use it. What's the worst that anyone can say? No, go away. But at least you've tried, right? I think that's a very important thing to pass on.
Beautiful. That's definitely great advice. Great advice for us during International Women's Week. I'm claiming it. I'm going to call it
Yeah. Every day should be International Women's Day. Every day.
That's right. And then especially for single mums and the single mum like your mum and myself and other single mums out there doing it, on their own. And I think that's why, for us, we connect with that pillar that we support with Jobs for Humanity quite well. It resonates with us. So anyone that's looking for any kind of support, please feel free to reach out to us, whether it's, you want to have a chat, you want to find out about job opportunities, or if you want to support volunteering as well and give back like we have been. So on that note, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to seeing Snowy at some point as well. I thought he was going to make a debut, but that's okay.
He's sitting at the door because he can hear the trucks going by, and he's more fascinated by that than anything.
Excellent. And then, you know, in terms of you being a food connoisseur, people can follow you on Instagram, right? Because it's
That's
amazing.
right.
Yeah, the way you take photos, even if you've eaten, you'll salivate. I'm telling you. So follow I-Hua on Instagram, follow her on LinkedIn, and reach out. And, you know, Indebted are hiring at the moment as well. And come along to the recruitment event and plant Ruptive. If, you know, if and when you do resurrect that, that would be wonderful. For you to share what you're doing there and how people can get in touch with you for that too. So
Thank you. Yes. It's all on my
so,
LinkedIn, on my website, on Insta. So yeah, reach out and connect.
So what I'll do is I'll add some links in the comments below and people can reach you that way. So once again, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thanks, Jo. Me too. Bye.
Bye.